Welcome to the first episode of the Terri and Frank Show called The Human Dimension. This is a talk about the human side of business and life. We have a weekly episode that we're going to be delivering to you. We hope you tune in. Today we're doing culture in 5 minutes. So Terri, what is the big deal with culture anyway?
What is the big deal with culture? So, culture is kind of that buzzword that's hanging around everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. And these days, with remote work and organizations going through different changes that they've never been through before because
Mhm.
of COVID, it is a hot topic. And so, the big deal about culture is it really is, I like to think of it as the groundwork. If you think about a garden, it's the soil, it's the
Yeah.
thing that's going to help the people produce what needs to be produced. And so culture to me is everything. It changes the whole stage of what's produced in that company, changes the dynamics of the people and how they interact with each other, it changes the dynamics between the leadership and the people that are working with those leaders to accomplish goals. It
Mhm.
is the foundation. So I think this topic is really relevant, especially in the times that we're in right
Yeah.
now.
I tell you what, and I absolutely love the soil analogy because people, you're bringing them in to produce something. That's the
Yeah.
reality of the situation. So if you consider that you had a garden and the people are the seeds, the people determine, the seed determines if it's ready to germinate. If this is a good place to germinate, it could fall on rock and never germinate, might fall on great soil and produce something incredible for you. So the culture is going to get the people to germinate, grow, and produce what you want ultimately, or not.
Right, right. Because we've all been in those bad cultures,
Whew,
in those bad environments where it was
terrible.
very toxic and nobody wanted to be there. You dreaded Monday mornings. You didn't go in early. You went in
Yeah.
at exactly the right time you had to be there. There's no extras,
Oh
nothing.
man,
You're
that's
just,
the whew, glad I got
yeah,
out of that place, right?
yes, I never want to be here longer for not for 1 minute longer than
No
I have
way.
to be.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. You're running out the door every single chance you get.
Absolutely. So culture ultimately is how effectively people are able to contribute and whether or not they're willing to give their best. Because this whole notion of management, I'm going to manage you and I'm going to pull the best you have out of you. Baloney.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. People have to bring that best person to the table. And when the
Yeah.
culture is not one of those safe environments where people feel like they can be themselves, they can be authentically who they are
Mhm.
and bring their complete self to the table, then it's going to be difficult to get them to give you their best.
Yeah, and that psychological safety where they're able to say, I don't know that. I need help, which
Right.
is huge because most of life is learning anyway. You go into a place, you got to learn everything. You may
Right.
bring expertise, but the reality is that institutional knowledge, like how do we work here? How does it get done here? That's a
Right.
huge hill to climb in a lot of places, right?
Right. And if people don't feel safe, the people that have the knowledge may hoard it. They may decide, I can't share that information because then I won't be as valuable.
Yeah, see
So
that
they
all
don't,
the time, right?
yeah, they don't see the importance of sharing and learning as a group.
And sharing, which, my God, it just not only increases the speed of work, in reality, that helps that other person begin to feel that sense of belonging because somebody
Right.
cared about them.
Right. Right. You want to feel like your leaders are there for you. They have your back. They care about you as an individual. So they don't just walk by you and not say anything. I'm
Mhm.
from Alabama, so it's probably
Yeah,
more of a Southern thing for me. But just passing by people and acknowledging that they're there. That's
yeah,
important to people. People want to be heard. They want to know that their presence makes a difference. And so
yeah,
just even the simple things. For me, culture is about the little things. It's about all the little things that seem like they're not that important, they're not that big of a deal, but it's the little things that make the biggest differences that I've found,
yeah,
where it's, humanizing the people and acknowledging who they are as a human being, not just as some piece of equipment that showed up to work today. You can't just plug in that person and expect them to perform like you plug in a toaster or a
Yeah.
coffee maker. You really do have to build those relationships with the people and humanize yourself as a leader,
Mm.
allowing
Totally.
people to get to know you as well so that you're not just some person that's out there, but you have real relationship. You have something that you can fall back on.
Yeah, you want everybody to put their best human on. And we know that the leaders set the tone and establish a culture because culture happens everywhere,
Yeah,
whether it's intentional or unintentional. Unfortunately, it's unintentional in so many places, even to this day. And intentionally, they should be building a culture where people care about one another, where they make sure they're growing, that the seeds are germinating, that the roots are going down into the soil. They should understand what the cultural soil is. Is it good or bad? And how do they make it better and enrich it, right? So that the people
right.
produce the most, and best product possible.
Right. Right. You want to listen to people. You really want to make sure that they feel like their voice is being heard. Lots of times we've all been in those situations where you feel like leadership has made a decision and you don't really understand the choice that's been made, but you have to move forward.
Mhm.
In those times, being able to be human and share, sometimes you can't share all of the whys,
Yep.
but just acknowledging that it's a difficult place, but we're going to get through this together. We're going to work together as opposed to just do what I say do. That kind of thinking and leadership is really a day that's gone by. That
Yeah.
type of leadership will not work in this life that we live now.
That's right, and we know that culture happens unintentionally, so that means that whatever you're doing is the culture. People don't do what leaders say, they embrace what they do, and they model and take on those behaviors. So, if you have leaders who are setting a bad example, you got crummy soil, and the seeds aren't gonna put roots down very deep, and then they're gonna go, "Oh my god,"
Yeah.
"talent's
Yeah.
leaving." Well, guess what? You're toxic.
Right. And they may not say that. People will just leave. They may not say, this is why I'm leaving. They'll just walk away from that environment because people need to thrive. They need healthy cultures to thrive. Most people don't thrive in toxic situations.
Yeah. I
So
you know,
they're
I
going
worked at a
to,
bank years ago, and
uh-huh.
it was the worst job I ever had. I was there 9 months. It was one of those jobs where I just got up one day, and I was like, "I don't wanna go in there." It was horrible, so I resigned, and then the VP, I was doing a really good job. The VP calls me and says, "Hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee. I'd like to talk to you." And we go down to this coffee shop. He gets me a cup of coffee. He goes, "So why are you leaving?" And I really felt like saying, "This is the most bleepity bleep blah place. It sucks." But I didn't. And, I said, "I don't wanna burn any bridges." Guess what? Like 15 years later, I become the CIO of this Prudential retirement group. And they have the first leadership offsite, like 100 of the senior leaders of the company there. And I hear this voice right behind me. I go, I know that voice. I turn around. It's that guy who's a consultant, and a bunch of people from the bank were now running Pru. Had I ever done that, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it really is sensible to control yourself. Hey, I
Yeah.
think that we're over the 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
maybe we should wrap up so we keep our promises here that these are going to be short videos, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So closing
Absolutely.
thoughts.
So, in closing, I would say just make sure that your culture is one that's inviting, it's welcoming, that people feel like they can belong there, that it's not just us and them, but it's we philosophy, that we are working together to accomplish common goals.
Yeah, and by the way, Terry created an incredible culture and was able to double throughput, literally, using culture as a tool to make it happen. Fact. So she
Yeah.
knows what she's talking about. But listen, great episode. Appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks for joining.
Yep. Arrivederci. Till next week.
Bye bye.